Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. That game is called Spacers, and it's from the publisher Game Shrine. Now, if you like what you see throughout the rest of this preview video, I'm going to encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page to find out more information than I could possibly tell you here. To do that, all you got to do is follow the link in the top corner of your screen and down in the description section underneath this video. Those links will take you to the page. You can find out more information and hopefully consider backing the project. Now, Spacers is a competitive game, or it can be played solo, so it's 2 to 4 players or solo, where you and the other players take control of Spacers, the titular Spacers, who are wandering the cosmos, doing various tasks in order to build up their reputation and gain fame. Now, how do you do that? Well, through a lot of different ways, and it's your choice how you do that. You can get goods and sell them at, buy them from one place, sell them somewhere else, or go harvest them from the galaxy, mine asteroids or mine energy from nebula's plasma, and then you'll sell them. And if you do it the right way, if you sell them when they're in demand, you get some fame points, which is the point structure of the game. You could also attack other players, attack merchants and steal their goods. Of course, doing that will earn you the ire of a bounty hunter who is wandering across the galaxy looking for people just like you. You can go exploring, find unknown phenomena and anomalies out in or fight pirates out in the far reaches of space. All of these different things and more are options for you in order to build up your reputation, because really, fame, infamy, kind of the same thing. You just want to make a name for yourself. So let me go ahead and give you a brief look at how the game actually plays out with a prototype copy of the game. So just do bear in mind that the final version of the game may have some things that are different. Some things may be the same. That's why it's important to keep track of the Kickstarter project to see all the news about how the game progresses. But then in any event, we will come back and discuss it further. Spacers is a competitive space adventure board game for 2 to 4 players, or playable solo with special rules. You're a spacer, and with your trusty ship, you're trying to secure your legend across the cosmos. How you do this is up to you. Trading goods between planets, mining asteroids, exploring unknown phenomena, attacking other spacers, and more. In game terms, you must be the first player to attain 7 fame points. If you can do that, you may win the game. To set up the game, start with the star map. There is a central star tile. The rest of the tiles are shuffled, and players take turns placing them around the central star in 3 rings. Star map tiles have various stellar bodies to navigate, from planets to beacons to asteroids and nebula. Next to the star map, place the 2 halves of the status board. The game's 6 planets are depicted, and you will randomly draw 2 red, 2 green, and 2 pink cargo cubes and place them on each planet's supply spaces. Then randomly draw from all the available cubes to fill the demand spaces, noting that you must redraw if the demand cube is the same as the supply cube, which can never be the case. Also, the supply cubes can never be the blue or orange cubes, which are plasma and minerals respectively. The rest of the cubes are left in the bag near the map. Underneath each planet's landing zone space, shuffle and place a planet feature tile. These will represent unique traits of each planet, but only when revealed by a spacer who travels there. They can give you one-time effects or a persistent effect whenever certain actions are taken on that landing space. Every player takes a set of components in a chosen color, including a playmat, ship, and markers. One marker is placed on the 10 spot of the energy track, and another is placed on the leftmost positive spot on the hull track. Each player is given 4,000 Spacebuck tokens, a reference card, and a random player is given the Captain of the Round token. In clockwise order, starting with the Captain of the Round, each player will roll a die and place their ship on the landing zone of the corresponding planet, from left to right, and immediately reveal the planet's feature tile and apply its effect if necessary. The other unrevealed tiles get a 1,000 Spacebuck token placed on them. A merchant and hunter card is placed near the board with a white marker on each green space and 2,000 spacebucks on each money space. The merchant's pink ship is placed on the landing zone of the leftmost open spot on the status board, and a white marker is placed on their route track on the next space right of where their ship currently is. Do the reverse for the hunter, rightmost empty landing zone, and the marker on the track to the left of that. Shuffle the various card decks and place them nearby. There are mission cards, encounter cards, boost cards, and event cards. Encounter cards are double-sided, so after shuffling you must cover the top card with a special deck card. Event cards have a special marker and tokens that should be kept nearby until needed. Each player will draw one boost card and keep it hidden to the other players until used. Boost cards are just that, a small boost a player can use to gain an advantage, by enhancing their own actions, hindering other players, or just gaining more resources. You may only have 4 in your hand at a time, and for the rest of the game, players will get boost cards in various ways, as compensation when another player gains fame, when failing a mission, when respawning, after a failed encounter, or by purchasing them from a planet for $2,000 each. Make stocks of space bucks, tech tokens, and blip and bounty tokens. Tech tokens can be purchased and placed on your player mat to enhance your ship. Blips and bounties share a token. The captain of the round will place 4 blips out on the map at the start of the game by randomly rolling to determine which planet or beacon space gets them, 1 per tile. Then, the game begins. Each round of the game consists of a player phase and a neutral phase. In the player phase, starting with the captain of the round, each player will take a turn consisting of 2 actions. You have several options for these actions, and you may perform the same one twice if you wish. You may move your ship up to 3 spaces for an action. You can move through other ships but not stop on them. You may also pick up any loose cargo cubes you pass through without stopping. To move onto a planet's landing zone, you must move onto the planet space and then spend 1 additional move point to land. It also takes 1 movement point just to leave. If you enter spaces with asteroids or nebula, you must roll to prevent damage to either the hull or the energy reserve, respectively. You may attack another ship up to 2 spaces away, if you have line of sight. Both the attacker and defender roll a die. If the attacker rolls higher, the defender takes damage equal to the difference between the rolls. If not, nothing happens. Defenders in an asteroid or nebula space gain a bonus to their roll. If you manage to destroy the ship of a spacer who has more or equal fame as you, you gain a fame point on the track. Destroying a hunter or merchant ship gives you the money that they're holding, and the merchant drops his cargo cubes in his former space. But destroying the merchant also forces you to take a bounty token. The science action can be used for certain research missions, or to dredge a nebula for blue plasma cubes by rolling a die and subtracting 3 to gain that many cubes. Similarly, the tinker action is used for some missions, but also to mine asteroids for orange mineral cubes with the same type of roll. The repair action lets you spend 2 energy to either repair 1 damage to the hull of your ship or repair a non-functioning piece of tech. Exploring is used while in the same space as a blip token. Draw a card carefully from the encounter deck, only looking at the title side. This will have a description of the encounter and a series of choices you can make. After making the choice, flip the card over and reveal the consequences of the choice, which may involve rewards or penalties, possibly even a fame point. There will also be a symbol indicating your success or failure. If it's a green checkmark result, discard the card and keep the token on your mat. If it's a red X, discard the card and the token. If it's a continuous arrow, go back and choose a different option. Acquiring 2 blip tokens gives you $2,000 and a fame point. The salvage action is specifically taken on the shattered planet space. Draw 3 cubes from the bag, choose and keep 2, and return the 3rd. Finally, the business action can only be performed on a landing zone of a planet, and it actually allows you to do 2 different things from another list of options, or the same option twice. You can buy boost cards for 2,000 space bucks each. You may spend $1,000 to buy cargo cubes matching the planet's supply cube color from the bag. You can conversely sell cargo cubes you already have for 1,000 space bucks each, with an additional $1,000 bonus if it matches the planet's demand color, at which point the demand cube is discarded from the planet. But you only get that money bonus once per sell action regardless of the amount of cubes you sell. If you sell at least 2 demand cubes in 1 transaction, you earn 1 fame point. You can spend $1,000 per unit to regain energy, hull, or disable tech while on a landing zone, all with the same action. You can buy tech from the stock if you have open tech spaces. These give you permanent buffs to your ship, though to use tech that influences die rolls, you also have to spend energy. Finally, at a landing zone, you may pay off a bounty token you have for $3,000 or put a bounty on another player for $4,000. Lastly, for business action options, you can draw and choose mission cards. Draw 3 cards from the deck, choose 2, and discard the 3rd. Keep the 2 that you chose hidden from the other players until you begin the steps of completing those missions, at which point they're revealed to everyone. Missions can be anything from delivering goods, researching anomalies, attacking other players or pirates, and more. But it's important to complete them since they are a primary way to gain fame points. When all players have taken their 2 actions and completed their turn, the neutral phase begins, which is managed by the captain of the round. First, the merchant will take 1 action according to their list of priorities. If destroyed previously, they will respawn randomly. Otherwise, they will move 3 spaces towards the closest loose cargo cubes. If it lands on them, they're discarded and the merchant gets $1,000 per cube. If that doesn't apply, instead the merchant moves to the next planet on his route, receives $1,000, and the marker is moved to the next planet, and the supply and demand cubes are discarded and replaced on the current planet. After the merchant's actions, if there are any planets without demand cubes, replace them now from the bag, remembering that demand and supply can never be the same. Next is the hunter actions, performed in a priority list just like the merchant. Spawn them if destroyed. Otherwise, move them 3 spaces towards the last ship to attack them, if that happened, and if they're not on a planet. Otherwise, move them 3 spaces towards the ship with the highest bounty, with ties going to the most famous ship. Otherwise, just move them 3 spaces towards the next planet on their route and adjust the marker accordingly. If the hunter ever ends its movement within 2 spaces of any other ships, it will attack all of them that it can, with a +1 bonus to all rolls. Ships without a bounty, including the merchant, can pay the hunter $1,000 to avoid the attack entirely, and the merchant will always pay this if possible. Ships with a bounty token will be attacked no matter what, and the hunter gets an additional +1 attack bonus for each bounty token that they have. If there are any other combatants from missions or encounter cards, like pirates, resolve those next in this phase. Then the captain replaces missing blip tokens on the map if there are less than 4. Next is the event. If there is no event, draw one, place it face up, read it aloud, and place a white marker on the start of its track. If the event refers to a specific space on the map, place event markers there. If there is already an event, move the marker down the track 1 space, and if it's already on the last space, replace the card with a new one. Events are disasters, anomalies, or other special events that may affect all players, or only certain spaces on the map when the players are there. Players may need to make special rolls or take certain actions to interact with the event, positively or negatively. Lastly, for the neutral phase, pass the Captain of the Round token left to the next player and begin a new player round. The game continues like this until one player reaches 7 fame and becomes the potential winner. The round will play out with every player attempting to tie with the winning player if possible, at which point those players will either share victory or come up with some kind of tiebreaker. And that is Spacers.
Well, yeah, I think the most interesting and most apparent and notable aspect of Spacers is the option of it's the options, the free will that you have as the player to do whatever you want within the confines of the game to make those fame points. If you want to go all out and be an aggressive combat player, whether that is taking out the hunter and the merchant, or specifically the merchant and getting their goods and getting their money and all that, or taking out other players and, some other player gets as much or more fame than you, they become an easy target for you. You can play that way. You can be an aggressive player here. Or you can be a pure explorer. You're going after those blips and you are trying to get fame that way in the best way possible and only doing whatever you need to in order to defend yourself. Or you can be a pure merchant. Load up on cargo holds and carry as many cubes as you possibly can and just go planet from planet, buying and selling as much as you possibly can. But of course, the players who really excel at this game and who are going to do the best over a long period of time are going to be the players who dabble in multiple things. Sure, you may have a focus on combat, but you also have a cargo hold so that when you're going around these different places, because of course, if you're combat oriented and you take out the merchant, you're still going to want to take their goods, right? So then you're going to want to go and try and sell those, get some money. And of course, even if you are combat oriented, you want to have as many of those boost cards as possible, and you want to be able to repair your hull and get more energy all the time. You're going to need money for that. So the best players are going to be those who don't just focus on one specific thing, but do multiple things. Same thing with if you're cargo oriented. Well, yeah, you can do that, but then you're an easy target for the other players who are combat oriented, or even for the hunter, because you can buy a bounty and put it on another player. So that's a way to keep players from, it's sort of a way to keep the ire of, especially for a combat focused player, off of them and onto someone else. You have a bounty, hunter's coming after you, put more bounty on someone else. So you can't just ignore a part of the game. You may just want to pick up and deliver goods, but you're going to have to deal with other things happening to you at the same time, whether you like it or not. Sometimes in the case of the game itself, like the events that happen. Some events are just negative things that you want to try to maybe not even mess with, but a lot of events, maybe the majority of them, are ones you want to try to exploit instead. So it's to your benefit not to ignore those types of things. And there's just it's interesting because there's a lot of moving pieces to the game, but it's not like the game is overwhelming. One thing rolls into another, one thing affects another, and so it's easy for players to sort of understand what's happening and to explain what's happening to people who may be new to the game as well. There are, as you may see in the preview section, and again, I stress that some things may change in the final version, but you'll notice that there's a lot of bits and there's a lot of cubes and things moving around. But even so, it's not a very difficult setup, and it's not a very long setup either. So I feel like this is the type of game where people who may initially be intimidated by this type of bits and bobs types of game would actually find this as a convenient entry point for them. Even though, when you get down into it, if you have a group of players who are all familiar with the game and are very competitive, this game can get very deep and it can be very heavy. Just depends on the play group and the people who are involved. And so I think as well, because there's so many different options on how you can play the game, it's not like one of those things where it's too cutthroat at times. Sure, some player may attack you, but it's not very difficult to respawn in the game. I didn't really touch on that much in the preview, but it's not a very penalizing thing. It is a penalty, but it's not a humongous thing if your ship would get destroyed. You don't lose fame. So you can go about your business and just do what you have to do, even if players may prey on you from time to time. So I don't think it's a game that's going to drag out too many ill feelings from people. It just reinforces the notion that you can do whatever you want in this game without facing too harsh of a penalty, even if that's just exploring and minding your own business for the most part. So with all the different options in the game, the different types of cards, the different missions, so many different types of missions, and so much variability with how the planets get set up with the mission stuff, there's just a lot of different things here in the game potentially for people to explore from game to game. And if any of that sounds like it appeals to you, listen, you don't have to take my word for it. You can go to the official Kickstarter project page and find out more information than I could have possibly gone over in just this short video. You can do that by following the link in the top corner of your screen, as well as down in the description section underneath the video. That is Spacers from the publisher Game Shrine. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, for supporting our sponsors. Take care.